Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richeimer. We are on chapter 8 and at page 196. And here's what you have to know. We are in the process of talking about timing. And I hope from last week to this week, you had some brain like, oh, wow, no wonder I'm not having such good results. I'm like, my husband walks in the door and I hit him with 10 problems. I hope that you're already seeing awesome results by being careful with your timing. Okay. Here's chapter 8, page 196, carving out time. My students are often so harried that they are quite amused when I tell them to try to schedule a regular set time to speak with their husbands. But they can't argue with the fact that without a fixed time for important conversations, they end up happening at the very last minute, in the midst of a busy dinner time routine, or on the phone while driving. Hardly the most conducive time for it to go well. Without making a routine time for discussions, everything is left to chance, which means it won't happen or it will happen under duress. My students simply can't figure out exactly how to carve out the time on a routine basis. But without adequate motivation, no plan will ever work. Perhaps it's motivating to realize that so many big problems in a marriage start out as small issues that were never discussed adequately when they were still small problems. Or the fact that a 15-minute discussion resolving a troublesome issue can make an entire week so much more enjoyable. Or maybe coming to a deep realization that every minute spent in discussion produces a closeness unavailable in any other way. Whatever the case, your job as the navigator of your household is to carve out this time and to get your husband motivated and excited to join you in discussions on a regular basis. It's crucial to recognize that setting aside time for discussion must be a priority or it will never happen. If there is a regularly scheduled time to solve problems, many of the issues in your life will be reduced dramatically. If you and your husband do not have a good track record of having kind and productive communication, you might need to bring in the help of a trained therapist or Rav to begin incorporating this new way of communicating into your life. But making it a priority is the only way to succeed in communicating. Also, keep in mind that without a clear set time when challenging issues will be talked about, your husband won't be able to have a moment of relaxation in your home. He will live in perennial fear that at any moment you might drop a stressful bomb on him. By having a regularly scheduled time to talk, all of your other time together becomes much more enjoyable. This is such a game changer in your marriage, you'll see. Some couples go out to eat dinner to have significant discussions about their lives, and that is fine. But it also might take away from the much needed downtime. Perhaps if you can make stringent boundaries about the conversation so your evening out doesn't get hijacked into a stressful conversation about the kids, it can work. But it's also harder to schedule a dinner night out with the expense as well as finding babysitters, etc., so they may not happen frequently enough to keep up with the issues that arise. Like all of our work together, it's a trial and error experiment. Try many ideas and then hone in on the successful ones and make them into habits. Say, for instance, we are upset because our husband did something hurtful. It's so tempting to let our emotions run rampant and to give him a piece of our mind. But it will certainly make the situation worse, and it will not help in the future since the husband will resent our outburst. Whereas, if we hold our tongue in the moment and plan carefully to broach the subject during a quieter time, our husband might actually be willing to work on the issue. Our chances of success is exponentially improved. It's important to select only 2 or 3 priority items, or the conversation will become too heavy and overwhelming. Remember, the goal is to work together to accomplish your mutual goals, not a time set aside to berate your husband. This has to be a safe, warm, respecting, and pleasant experience for him, or you'll have a hard time getting him to come the next time. The secret to remember is that how you say it makes all the difference. Planning well beforehand is your best chance of success. Ideas for times to set aside for discussions to be adjusted according to your lifestyle and budget. Number 1, after dinner and putting the kids to bed, set aside 2 nights a week for discussions if you can do so without adding even more stress to your lives. Number 2, try to wake up early one morning each week. Number 3, during your lunch hour, try to meet on the phone, which works best with purely logistical issues that you're trying to solve. Number 4, once per week, drive your husband to work or kollel and discuss issues on the way there and on the way home. Number 5, Motzei Shabbos, spend time catching up. Number 6, have a standard time every night before bed. This works nicely for many couples since because they're talking more often, issues don't pile up and there's more time to discuss more non-urgent matters. However, it's not a great idea to discuss financial matters before bedtime unless absolutely necessary. It's just too stressful. Number 7, Shabbos afternoon might also be a good time to schmooze, but it's a challenge not to plan for the future. If you know the two of you can be vigilant not to talk about weekday matters, it can be a very peaceful time to share your thoughts about life. Number 8, after the Suda on Shabbos day, go for a talking walk. Again, be careful regarding discussing weekday matters. To summarize, in order to communicate for best results, always remember when you're about to say something to first think HOT, H-O-T. How can I say it so it will be heard? O, what outcome do I want? And T, is my timing correct? That's all you need to do and closeness will grow. Remember one thing. Any effort you make towards better communication with your husband accrues to your eternal merit. You may or may not have hatzlacha in this world, but surely you will gain merit in the next. Okay, that's chapter 8, ladies. What questions you got for me?
Okay, some great questions rolling in. Aliza asks, my husband recently expressed to me that he feels his love tank is running on empty. The truth is, my nature is kind, but not the most loving. I'm not lovey-dovey at all. Is there a way that I can change this about myself?
I mean, the first question I'd want to know is, what does he mean? What does he want? What is he looking for? What works? What doesn't work? She's got 10 questions to ask him to find out what exactly it feels is missing, what has worked in the past. That's a really good question, because then it doesn't focus all on the negative, on why you're bad and wrong. It helps him, think about what works for him that makes him feel that love. So it could be as simple as, you might think, oh gosh, now I have to sit there and come up with 10 compliments. Oh, you're wonderful. It could be just greeting him at the door, making him feel welcome to the home is made him feel loved. So you got a lot of homework to do to find out what makes him feel loved. And when you're talking to him, got a little cute tip, bring a notebook. And as he talks, write down everything he says. Make sure he knows you're writing it down. This will fill his heart with, like, she gets me. She cares. She wants to take care of me. She wants to love me more. That in and itself, zehu, that might be it. You bringing that notebook and taking notes about it might be all the love he needs for the next 10 years. Joking. You need to work on it. But I'm just saying that will show him that you're serious and that you want to accomplish it. But you can't make up the answer. You need to know him and what he wants. And you've got to ask him. So good luck with it. I think it's fantastic. It's a great, doing that process. It does 3 things. Number 1, it makes him feel loved just in that. Number 2, it gives you direction on how to make him feel loved in the future and gives you a whole about it. And the third most beautiful thing is he's going to love you more and be more curious about what you need to be. You need to feel more loved. So hopefully, that's a long-term outcome. That might take 3 or 6 months or a year of you working hard to make him feel loved before it dawns on him that, he should work more on that. But it definitely would be a potential outcome from that, or likely outcome from that. Okay, great. Good question. What's next?
Okay, Hannah asks, I've been working so hard to be aware of how I speak that my husband called me out recently that I sound like I'm trying too hard, and it's having the opposite effect on him. I was so embarrassed. What should I do? Like, suddenly she became this soft person, and he's like, who are you?
Wow. So she should really try and sell him on the thing. Say, I'm working on my character traits. I'm trying to be better so that I'd be a better wife. It's not phony. It's who I'm trying to become. If let's say I screeched at the kids all day long and I stopped screeching, you'd be like, You're awesome. That's amazing. How did you, they just took milk and on purpose threw it across the room and milk is everywhere. And and the kid got hit with a cup and, and you didn't lose it. You just said, that's not the kind of behavior that we do in our homes. Like, hello, who are you? You'd be thrilled. So this is the same thing. I'm working on it. Don't see it as phony. See it as me rising up to be a better wife. And try and sell him on this idea. And if he says, well, it sounds phony to me, then put the problem in his hands, in his lap and say, how can I grow in this area that doesn't make you feel like I'm a phony baloney? Because I really want to grow in this because I want to be a better person. And then he'll think about it and he'll say, maybe you're right. I can't think of any better way to do it than to just, fake it till you make it. So go ahead and fake it till you make it. I'm with you. Or he'll say, well, I would prefer when you're upset about something, instead of saying, okay, let me just have a few minutes to think about it. I wish you'd say, what you said upset me, but I need time to think about it. And you're like, okay, I can make that adjustment, but again, if you put this whole problem in his lap and explain why you're doing what you're doing, I'm sure he's going to go on along with you just as you are. That's the most likely outcome of that conversation. Good question. Okay, go ahead.
Dina asks, I would love how to figure out how to keep my husband more calm when it comes to disciplining our children. $1 million question here. He's easily triggered and raises his voice. Would it be okay to give him a quick little reminder to remain calm before he reacts to our kids' behavior?
Good question. This is actually a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Treacherous. It's a little bit of a treacherous territory. In that, for the last 70 years, we've been taught that the way a woman parents a child is better than the way a man parents a child. That a kid will do something, he'll say, go to your room. And it's like, what? He picked his teeth at the table. Really? Whatever. Whereas a wife will be, sit him down, hold his hand. Picking your teeth at the table isn't, whatever. And she's taught this whole feminine way of dealing with it. Well, God didn't give a child to, of the same species, whatever. He gave a husband and a wife. The husband tends to be much harsher. The wife tends to be much softer. And if God created it that way, right? God obviously felt that was what was needed for the that was the best scenario. That was what the kid needed to grow and to fulfill their shlemus, fulfill their perfection in the world, that having those two types of people. So a lot of women are, bash their husband's harshness or whatever. And I just have news for you. Am I saying harshness is great? I don't know. What do I know? All I know is that most women tell me their husband is harsh and most women are soft. There could be the opposite. There could be a harsh woman and a softer man and whatever, there's variations in every, so I'm making broad generalizations here. But the generalizations happen to be accurate to what Chazal say is a man's way and a woman's way, but some people are just more masculine or more feminine, whatever. So that is regardless of the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that for the last 50 to 70 years, we've been taught that the woman's way is correct. And I don't think that is accurate because we know how Hashem made the nature of the man and the woman. Now, the reason this is so crucial to think about at this point, particularly if you have young children, and even if your children are older, you can all reverse engineer things. But a lot of times you'll have a husband reacting to a kid much harsher than a woman. And a woman will, right there in front of the kids, she'll throw the husband under the bus. The husband will say, go to your room. And she'll say, no, wait a minute. Dear, all he did was pick his teeth. Don't make him go to that's much too harsh. The punishment doesn't fit the crime and, whatever. And she'll use whatever logic. She might even do it as nice and sweet as possible. But what's the upshot of what she's done? She has now, in front of all of her children, said, Daddy is not the authority figure in the home. His harshness is too harsh. You shouldn't respect him. You shouldn't look up to him. And guess what? Then the kids become teenagers. And right when they need that authority figure, they need that harsh man. They need that in their life like bricks. They need somebody who's going to tell it like it is. Okay, much harsher than a woman might handle things. Okay, right when she needs him the most, when the kids are teenagers, she's already thrown him under the bus. The kids don't respect him. And right when the kids need somebody, a rock, they've got no rock. And this is why a lot of the kids, have no ground to stand on, because the mother has thrown the husband under the bus for 10 years. Now, I'm making a broad generalization, but I'm just saying this is a caveat. This is something to look out for in your own relationship to your husband, and why I'm going to give the advice, the answer to this lady about saying that, should I just tell him nicely, not to behave that way? No. You are going to put some duct tape on and you are going to let your husband have his own relationship with those children. It's not your business. You need to be a united front with him. Now, could it be at a later date when you're having a good conversation, or if he is commenting on how you raise the kids or whatever, or there's an opening, is it true that you could say, I think you made, Moshe feel a little bit like you didn't love him. So, I think you were right in how you handled it. Or if you don't think he was right, say, I get how you handled it or whatever, and that was fine. But maybe, now that he apologized to his sister for doing that, or now that he's stopped picking his teeth and promised never to do it for the rest of his life, whatever, now that that's over, maybe you can take him out for ice cream, or maybe you can, tell him that you're really proud of him, what he did in his math assignment, whatever it is. So you can give your input. It's not like, you have to, wear duct tape 24/7 or whatever. At the moment, for sure. In front of the other kids, for sure. But it doesn't mean that you can't, at a later date, kind of say something. My advice would be, if you can avoid saying something, that would be the advice, because no matter how you say it, he's going to take it as criticism, and he's going to resent it. And he might even go stronger and be harsher with the kids and dig his heels in more, because you've criticized him and he's, you've triggered him, or you've reached tender spots. So I'd be very, very careful how you handle it, how you bring it up, and be very circumspect, very introspective about how you're going to present it to him, if you present it to him at all. So the answer to the question is, for sure, never say anything criticizing in front of the kids, and be very reluctant to do so after the fact, and recognize one thing. God gave each human being a father and a mother, and they bring different things to the table. And so many women think their way is the way and the right way. And they don't realize how much the secular world has influenced their worldview in this, and how much, their mother and their sister and aunts and everybody thinks that the feminine way is the best way, and men don't know how to raise children. Well, God, gave, a husband, his gut instincts, which might be harsher and firmer and stronger and whatever, that helps to raise the kid. Because that's how God made it. That's how we know the proof of that, and should a husband grow to be more feminine and more giving? And I don't know. That's a question for Das Torah, for somebody much bigger than me. But the way God made husband and wife, let's go with it, and be very careful how you tell him the right way to do things. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, beautiful.
Okay.
So Sherry asks, my husband started to hang out with a group of men who vape, and he started vaping too. Vape is like that electric smoke. And I'm really not happy about it. I get that it's his life, but it definitely affects his mood and my life. I spoke to him about it several times, and he won't stop.
Mm-hmm. So I hear it's very hard. I think in this situation, you need to go ask a local Orthodox rabbi what to do about this, because it's very hard. There's no simple solution. In a sense, it's not your business, whatever, but in a sense, his health, and in a sense, his falling into, what's the word I'm looking for? Peer pressure, or whatever it is, that's what that group does. It might be you should move away, just because if they're influencing him that negative way, they might influence it in other negative ways. I'm not speaking badly about vaping people. I just am saying that if there is a certain peer pressure in a group, if there's peer pressure to learn more, there's peer pressure to be a better wife, there's peer pressure to listen to what the Rav says, that's gewaldic. But peer pressure for something that is, probably not a healthy direction to go in, I'd be a little concerned about what other peer pressure they might put upon him, coming late for shul. Who knows? I don't know. And I'm not trying to categorize anyone who vapes is this way. I'm only talking about now, I'm isolating the issue of peer pressure, which looks like that was, from what you're saying, that was what drove this. So if I were you, I would speak with a Rav. If you fear that your husband will be upset that you spoke with his Rav behind his back, find a Rav in another city. If you have an aunt, a cousin, a friend who moved to a different city, say, listen, I have a question that is private or personal. I want to ask it not from my community's Rav, or maybe you're in a big community and you can ask any other Rav, in the other part of town or something like that. But find a different Rav and just get advice from that. It's a very big question. It's an important question. And again, the thing that is scary a little bit is that he's under the influence of this group, and they may or may not be, if you're saying they're vaping, and plus but they're also, everybody's joined the Daf Yomi and they're whatever, okay, then maybe the peer pressure is good, but I would definitely look into that and ask somebody who ask an Orthodox Rav. Good question. Okay. Last question. I think we just have.
Yeah. Last question. Talia says, I have a bad habit of comparing my husband to others, and I hate that I do this, but it almost feels uncontrollable to me. We're constantly around lots of family and friends, and I'm always noticing how amazing everyone's husbands are. Any tips for me? I know this is toxic for my marriage and not fair to my husband. At least she's taking accountability. That's good.
Yeah. I'm very impressed about that. But the issue that you have to think about is that you're seeing it's like you're in a play, right? If you go to a theater and you see a fabulous actor and she comes out and she, sings this beautiful song, and you see how kindly she is to the little orphan girl and whatever, and you're like, oh, I love this woman. Oh, look at her, she's so amazing. I want to be like her. It's so inspiring, and you're looking at this person, right? She's an actress on a stage, right? And then you are so enamored of her, and you decide, I'm going to go backstage, and you climb up on the thing, and it's after the show and everybody's applauded and whatever. And she's back in her dressing room, and you open the door, or the door is open and you're standing in the hall and you hear her and she says, get out of my way. Why did you put that there? No, I told you to put my water bottle here, not over there, whatever. And you're like, gosh, my gosh. This is like a witch. How did this happen? She was so sweet on the stage. So I'm not saying that everybody's acting, but you are seeing the most superficial side of everybody. So a husband, if a wife says to him in front of a whole group of people, can you hand me that water bottle? He's like, oh yeah, okay, here, right? In his own home, if he's sitting on the couch and she said, oh, can you hand me the water bottle? He's like, can't you get it yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, you are seeing the show. You're seeing the curtains open, here's the people, and they're behaving in their absolute best possible behavior. So to help you on your daily task, your mission in life, to not compare other people. Look, we know this is to be jealous of another person. We're commanded not to be jealous. And it's like, wait a minute, how can you be commanded not to be jealous? Like, that's an emotion. It comes up, you walk into somebody's gorgeous mansion with marble foyer and, whatever, and this 200,000 painting on the wall. You're like, what? You're jealous, right? Why don't I have that? We're commanded not to be jealous. And it's a question of not necessarily, of course, we want to train ourselves not to feel the jealousy, but to have it permeate our every being. Actually, I'm this is above my pay scale. You should look into this, but we do know that we are supposed to not be jealous of other people. So if you're in a situation and you see this husband does this, and this one does that, and this one does this, immediately visualize a red curtain, like, like in a play, there's these curtains, whatever, and then they open, and then the actors come out and this light goes on them. So just remember that this person who's behaving this exemplary way is on stage at the moment. Maybe that'll give you the koyach, the strength to realize that when they get home, that's not necessarily who they are. And the things you're admiring about them right now, they're really helpful with their wife. They're running, they're getting the diaper bag, they're changing a diaper, they're helping set the table, they're clearing the dishes, all these amazing things. And you're just like, wow, right? But at home, they don't pay the bills on time. They're never on time for their thing. They promise they promise something and they never do it. They say, oh, I'll change the light bulb, and they never do. There's different things that are going on behind closed doors that you know nothing about. So hopefully, I'm telling you all this to hopefully give you the kaya to stop this nip this in the bud, to stop immediately. That anytime you start to have an inkling that this person is, wow, whatever, and you're looking at them and comparing yourself, realize you don't know what's going on. And I have to tell you, because being in my field, I hear the backstory of many, many people's lives. And, you look at this person and it's like they look like they've got everything together. Even the way they dress is perfect. The way they, they're home with their children, whatever. And then they come to me to help and whatever. It's like, oh my goodness, my daughter doesn't talk to me and my whatever. Everybody's got their peckle. So whatever you're jealous of, it's an illusion, and it keeps you from closeness to your husband. And you need to work very, very hard. Your big avoda in life now is to train yourself to realize they're on stage, and hopefully that'll help you. It's a very, very crucial and important topic. And I'm glad you are big enough to admit that's where you're holding. And now here's where you are. Here's where you want to get to. Beautiful, beautiful work. Okay, I think that's what we have time for today. I am going to give you homework for the week, which is one time this week when the jealous lion comes in your face for all of you. We all have that. We're like, oh, how come she gets it so good? She's, money, wealthy, beautiful, whatever. When that jealous lion comes in your face, to just recognize that that you're seeing the superficial part of it, and that they have issues, and you are not looking at yourself in a high enough light, that you need to raise yourself up of how beautiful you have it, both either your husband's qualities that you are overlooking and not missing, and you're just looking at his bad sides or whatever. Build that up in yourself, and build up in your that understanding in yourself, and build yourself up that you have it as good, that gamzlato, that everything is for the good, and that what you have is what you need, and try and see turn it into a sense of gratitude. Okay, that was long homework, but I hope you understood what I meant. We're working on that jealousy that comes in front of all of us, and how to best overcome it in our own ways. Okay, this is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time. If you want more, we have so much more. If you want to learn our Masorah and have an awesome marriage, the first thing we have is a foundations course. It's a 13-week course. You get all your questions answered. It's live with me, and you can ask Q&A. It's awesome. Second thing we have is a coaching program. If you are awesome with people and you want to know the Masorah better than 99% of the people on the planet Earth, like for reals, okay? It's a 4-month program. It's very intense. We have major scholarships, and we have somebody who's granted in a lot to pay for a big bulk of it. It's still a little expensive, but for what you get, and then you can start charging money to know it. That's the coaching program. Don't miss it. Go to www.ladiestalkshow.com. Look up the foundations course, look up the coaching. We do retreats, we do all kinds of stuff. You'll find it there. www.ladiestalkshow.com. Thanks for being with us. Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show.